Did you know that some of the biggest horror movies ever made were based on actual events that allegedly happened to the same couple? I'm talking, of course, about the famed husband and wife duo of Ed and Lorraine Warren. The pair of demonologists were involved in the events that inspired movies such as The Conjuring, Annabelle, the Amityville Horror, The Nun, and more. To give you an idea of how big the Conjuring movies have become, let's first look at how much money the movies and franchise as a whole has made. With a budget of $20 million, the first Conjuring made over $320 million worldwide, with the second doing about the same with a $40 million budget. As of this recording, the first two Conjuring movies hold the 15th and 16th spot for the highest grossing horror films of all time. But as a whole, the franchise holds the record for the highest grossing horror film franchise of all time with over $2 billion for its total worldwide box office. To give context, let's look at the highest grossing franchises of all genres. At number 20, The Hunger Games has grossed over $3 billion. Number 8, The Fast and the Furious has grossed over $7 billion. Star Wars at number 3 has grossed over $10 billion. And, to no one's surprise, the Marvel Cinematic Universe reigns supreme at number 1 with a not even believable $31 billion. I feel like we should count Spider-Man as number 1 with over $11 billion, but that's just me. It may seem like I'm underselling The Conjuring's achievements by including the overall list, and yes, I know I've gone off on a tangent, but think about how incredible it is that a horror film by the guy who did Saw is one of the biggest franchises out there. Not everyone likes horror, so it will never make it to the heights of Avatar or Harry Potter, but it's at least in the conversation, which, if you're here watching this video, you're probably happy about. Movies like The Conjuring, Alien, It, and Saw lifts up the rest of the genre so other films can be taken more seriously and studios will actually believe that they'll make money. Because a lot of times, they do. If you want to know more about Saw and its director James Wan, watch my video here. Contrary to popular belief, it's a movie with a good story made by two really nice guys from Australia. So by now, I assume we all know the plot and story of the Conjuring films. If not, you should watch them. The first two at least are actually pretty good. But what about the story of Ed and Lorraine Warren, the inspiration for the Conjuring films and many more? Well, we're about to dive into that now. To do that, we have to go back to the 1920s when the Warrens were born. Ed Warren was born on September 7th, 1926, and died on August 23rd, 2006 at 79 years old. Lorraine was born on January 31st, 1927, and died on April 18th, 2019 at 92 years old. Interestingly, they were both born in Bridgeport, Connecticut, only a few months apart, and both died in Monroe, Connecticut. Even before they met, both of the Warrens had an interest in the paranormal. Ed grew up in a house that he thought was haunted, and Lorraine began to notice her clairvoyant abilities at a young age. As a child, Ed recalled doors opening on their own and strange lights starting to form in his house. Lorraine recalled her first experiences around 9. She remembered seeing auras around people, but assumed this was normal. Ed met Lorraine in 1944 when he was 16 years old while working as an usher at a movie theater in Bridgeport, Connecticut, where Lorraine and her mother were regulars. Ed befriended Lorraine and they began dating. The next year, in 1945, Ed would enlist in the Navy on his 17th birthday. A few months later, his ship would collide with an oil tanker in the North Atlantic. A fire erupted, and all of the men on the ship had to jump overboard before the ship sank. As Ed was in the icy water, he prayed for help and was soon rescued. Ed then returned home on a 30-day survivor's leave and married Lorraine. Soon after, they had a child named Judy. Ed continued serving in the Navy until after World War II. Ed had a talent for painting. So after the war, he enrolled in Yale's art subsidiary, Perry Art School. His artwork depicted mostly haunted houses throughout Connecticut and other ghostly works. Ed withdrew from school after 2 years, and the couple set up pop-up stands throughout the tourist areas of Massachusetts, Vermont, Rhode Island, and coastal Connecticut to sell his paintings. Ed's interest in the paranormal went beyond his paintings and drawings. The couple would research houses they believed to be haunted, then drive to the house, and Ed would paint the house. He would then hand the painting to Lorraine, and she would knock on the door offering the homeowners the paintings as their ticket into the house. Once she struck up a conversation with the homeowner, they would then learn more about the property and the hauntings. This process was how their investigative career began and how, in 1952, they founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, or NESPR for short. The NESPR is the oldest ghost hunting group in New England. Through it, the Warrens have authored many books about the paranormal and about their investigations. The Warrens claim to have investigated well over 10,000 cases during their career and were among the first to investigate the Amityville haunting. According to the Warrens, the official website of the NESPR, Viviglam magazine, and several other sources, NESPR uses a variety of individuals, including medical doctors, researchers, police officers, nurses, college students, and members of the clergy in its investigations. Okay, so now let's do a quick summary of 3 of their most famous investigations. These include a haunted doll, a farmhouse in Rhode Island, and a murder. We will begin with the story of a haunted doll by the name of Annabelle. In 1970, a student nurse was given a doll as a gift. Contrary to what the movies portray, the real one was not a creepy porcelain doll. It was a simple Raggedy Ann doll. The student brought the doll home and almost immediately noticed strange occurrences with it. The student and her roommates were introduced to a medium who told them the doll was inhabited by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins. The roommates tried to accept and nurture the doll's spirit, but Annabelle reportedly exhibited malicious, frightening, and often violent behavior. This is when Ed and Lorraine Warren were called and pronounced the doll demonically possessed. Before taking the doll, they told the roommates that it was being manipulated by an inhuman presence. They then encased Annabelle in a glass box to contain the evil spirit and put it on display at the family's now closed occult museum. The legend of the doll has inspired several films in the Conjuring universe and has really become a trope in the genre. The next major happening for the Warrens, which inspired an entire film franchise, occurred in 1971, only 1 year after the acquisition of Annabelle. The Perron family had just moved into a farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island, when they started experiencing increasingly disturbing events. The Perrons then contacted the Warrens, who came to their assistance. It was eventually found out that back in the 19th century, a witch by the name of Bathsheba Sherman cursed the land so that anybody who lived there would eventually suffer a painful, untimely, and terrible death. This case inspired the 2013 film, The Conjuring. Lorraine Warren was a consultant on the film, and she also appeared in the film as a cameo. The next, and arguably most well-known case involving the Warrens can be traced back to something a lot more recent and believable than a curse put in place by a witch in the 19th century. I'm talking, of course, about a murder. Well, 6 murders that occurred on one night in one very well-known house. On November 13th, 1974, in the small Long Island town of Amityville, New York, 23-year-old Ronald DeFeo Junior brutally shot his mother, father, 2 brothers, and 2 sisters while they slept in their beds. All of the victims had been shot with a .35 caliber lever-action Marlin 336C rifle. The children had been killed by single shots, while the parents had each received 2 shots. Physical evidence suggests that Ronald's mother Louise and his sister Allison were awake at the time of their deaths. According to Suffolk County Police, all the victims were found lying face down in bed. The DeFeo family had occupied the house since purchasing it in 1965, 9 years earlier. Ronald DeFeo Jr. was the eldest child of the family and was its lone surviving member. Originally, he was taken to the local police station for his own protection after suggesting to the police officers that the killings had been carried out by a mob hitman named Louis Fellini. However, an interview at the station exposed serious inconsistencies in his version of events. The following day, he confessed to carrying out the killings himself. Fellini, the alleged hitman, had an alibi proving that he was out of state at the time of the killings. DeFeo told detectives, "Once I started, I just couldn't stop. It went so fast." He admitted that he had taken a bath and redressed, and detailed where he had discarded crucial evidence such as blood-stained clothes, the Marlin rifle, and cartridges before going to work as usual. After a trial lasting 7 weeks, DeFeo was convicted of second-degree murder in November of 1975 and sentenced to 6 terms of 25 years to life in prison. Ronald DeFeo died at the age of 69 on March 12, 2021 at the Albany Medical Center. The official cause of death has not been released to the public. In December of 1975, just about a year after the barbaric crimes of Ronald DeFeo Jr., George and Kathleen Lutz, along with their 3 children and dog, purchased the DeFeo home. They obtained the house at the bargain price of $80,000, which also, creepily enough, included much of the DeFeo family's furniture. I don't know about you, but the furniture would be the first thing to go in a house that had just recently had 6 murders committed in it. Even though the Lutz family disagrees with me on the furniture, they still only stayed in the house for 28 days. They claimed that they were being terrorized by a violent, demonic presence so intense that it eventually led to them fleeing the house. On the night of March 6, 1976, 5 months after the Lutz family left the home, Ed and Lorraine came to investigate with a television crew and a reporter from WNEW-FM. During the investigation, several infrared time-lapse photographs were taken. One of them originally showed a demonic boy with glowing eyes who was standing at the foot of a staircase. The Warrens concluded that the house was inhabited by an evil supernatural entity due to its violent history. The photograph of the demonic boy did not emerge into the public domain until 1979, when George and Kathy Lutz appeared on the Merv Griffin Show with Rod Steiger, one of the actors from the Amityville Horror film, to promote its release. Some aspects of Ed and Lorraine's account of this case are also portrayed in the opening scenes of the 2016 film The Conjuring 2. Before the Lutz family moved out of the house, they called Stephen Kaplan, a self-styled vampirologist and ghost hunter, to investigate the house. Kaplan and the Lutzes had a falling out after Kaplan said that he would expose any fraud that was found. Kaplan went on to write a critical book titled The Amityville Horror Conspiracy with his wife Roxanne Salch Kaplan. The book was published in 1995. The Kaplans characterized the case as a hoax. Lorraine Warren told a reporter for the Express Times newspaper that the Amityville Horror was not a hoax. According to Benjamin Radford, the story was refuted and proven to be false by eyewitnesses, investigations, and forensic evidence. Over 20 films have been made under the Amityville name. Not all are connected, but their use of the Amityville name is no coincidence. Even after all of these years, the debate still continues concerning the legitimacy of the Amityville Horror. Subsequent owners of the infamous house have publicly reported that they have not encountered any problems while living there. James Cromartie bought the house in 1977 and lived there with his wife Barbara for 10 years. He once said, "Nothing weird ever happened except for people coming by because of the book and the movie." Interestingly enough, in 1979, lawyer William Weber stated that he, Jay Anson, the author of the Amityville Horror book, and the Lutzes, invented the horror story over many bottles of wine. Do with that information what you will. Did you know that you used to be able to see the real-life Annabelle doll in person? The Warrens opened their occult museum in 1952 and kept it open all the way until 2019, when it was closed to the public due to zoning issues and the death of Lorraine. Throughout their investigative career, Ed and Lorraine collected various artifacts and relics, including Annabelle, that are allegedly attached to some form of demonic presence. Those items are presumed to still be housed in the museum that was founded by Ed and Lorraine. Atlas Obscura describes the now closed museum as such. The eccentric collection contains everything from an alleged vampire's coffin to a child's tombstone used as a satanic altar. Death curses, demon masks, and psychic photographs line the museum's walls, accented by a Halloween store's bounty of plastic props, assumably from Mood. However, the most prevalent item seems to be the cursed Raggedy Ann doll by the name of Annabelle, which was said to have killed a man. Annabelle sits in her glass case, backlit by a haunting red light. Looking at the Warrens' collection, one might begin to think that hell has a thing for dolls. Whether or not one believes in the paranormal, the Warrens' Occult Museum may be one of the preeminent chronicles of modern culture's obsession with the supernatural. Of course, it could also just be a spooky collection of stuff in an older woman's basement. You can also apparently visit the Conjuring house. Their website says they offer house tours, paranormal ghost investigations, private events, and even camping. Yeah, I thought that last one was weird too. But as their website further says, set on 8.5 acres surrounded by stone walls, open fields, a river, and a forest, visitors come from around the world to observe and connect with the energy here that Andrea Perron describes as a portal cleverly disguised as a farmhouse. Since opening to the public in 2019, thousands of visitors have witnessed and engaged with the abundance of supernatural activity present here. So there you go. You can visit and camp on the farm where the inspiration for The Conjuring took place. Or, at least you used to be able to. I tried to book a tour just to see if I could, and it kept saying, page not found. So it's either a glitch, or maybe you can't anymore. Either way, let me know in the comments if you can, or if you've ever been there. So, to wrap things up, in their time, the Warrens investigated over 100 known cases and collected what they believed to be evidence, relics, artifacts, and testimony from each site of demonic activity. I have shared but a small fraction of their investigations with you. To this day, they continue to inspire books, TV shows, and movies, and will surely continue to inspire for decades to come. Regardless of your opinion of the Warrens' method, or even their legitimacy, one thing is certain: they have left an indelible mark on not only paranormal investigations and exorcisms, but on the entire genre of fictionalized horror as a whole. It's now your turn to share. When did you first learn about the Warrens? Was it through movies or books like the Amityville Horror or The Conjuring? A podcast or a documentary? Were you ever able to go to their museum? If so, when did you go? How was it? Let me know in the comments. And let me know what other horror movies or books you'd like to know the story behind their story.